what a win that was for Manchester City. You cannot underestimate the importance of that win and the importance for the football club going forward into next season. Without Champions League football, this club cannot attract the best players in the world, the likes of Florian Wirtz. Whether we can or we can't sign him, we have no chance without Champions League football, and it has to happen. We have to get those top 5 spots, and we are now currently sat in 4th. And the win at Goodison Park yesterday, the 100th visit for Manchester City at Goodison Park, the final visit to Goodison Park, ends with City collecting 3 vital Premier League points. It was huge. It was huge. Arsenal, they couldn't win there. Liverpool couldn't win there. Newcastle couldn't win there. Lots of big teams go to Goodison Park and they struggle, but City come away with 3 points. Do not underestimate the importance of that win. It wasn't a perfect performance, but I think we're at that stage of the season where the old chestnut, that old cliche, where the end of the season, the business end of the season, the results are all that matters. The history books do not remember performances, they remember results. And City got one yesterday and it was massive. Let's have a look at how that impacts the league table. As you can see, City in 4th now. Don't forget, this will change by 2 o'clock this afternoon, potentially. Chelsea are away to Fulham, and of course, Nottingham Forest are playing Spurs tomorrow night. So this could quickly change in the space of, just over 24 hours, depending on the Forest result. And that's it, really, in fact. So even if Chelsea win, they still stay behind us, and we stay in the top 5, top 4 even. Whereas Forest are the only side now with the games in hand that can overtake Manchester City, which is interesting. But Villa's win against Newcastle yesterday was huge. It was huge for Aston Villa yesterday. And if I had to pick a winner, I'd have probably picked Villa, to be honest, even though because we're facing them at home. I knew the impact of what that would have on our game because we play them next, but we are at the Etihad. I'm hoping that plays a factor and gives us that extra edge. Our home form isn't perfect, but I do tend to think we've got a much better chance at home against Villa than we do going to Villa Park because they are notoriously difficult, as PSG found out. So we don't want to be going there. Thankfully, we're not. We're at our place. But let's have a look at the match stats. Not much to learn, really, from here. Nothing really stands out. Nothing out of the ordinary with these match stats. City with a pretty much bang-on XG versus actual goals. So, we perform pretty accurately to our XG there, and there's nothing else really that stands out. I felt like Everton probably could come away from that game. There was a period in the game where I felt like Everton, within the hour, there was a 60 minutes in the middle of the game, a little bit at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half, where I felt like Everton could definitely call themselves Manchester City's equals, at least. It felt like a fair game, even game. Anything could happen. One moment's going to swing this game. Pep Guardiola makes his substitutions with around 15 minutes to go or so. Doku, Kovacic changed the game. I would argue it's still a little bit late for me. I would have liked to have seen those I would have liked Doku to start, in fact, in all honesty. But he made the changes and it impacted the game and it changed how the game flowed. And all of a sudden, City just pinned Everton back for the final 15 minutes of the game. And that's where the game was won and lost in Everton's case. But let's have a look at the player ratings, starting with Stefan Ortega. I thought he was a little wayward with his distribution at his feet. There was a couple of moments where he bowled it out quite nicely. I thought his ability to get City on the counter-attack quickly from gathering a ball from a corner or a collected cross, I thought he did quite well in bowling it out. His actual distribution with his feet, with the number of long balls that you can see there. Yeah, pretty wayward with his distribution, but the cat-like reflexes that he showed with that save versus Branthwaite in the second half, a little flick on from Tarkowski, then again to Branthwaite, who was obviously heading into the back of the net. That was reflexes, mate, ninja-like reflexes from Stefan Ortega. And I thought he was solid with the crosses too. He collected pretty much everything that came his way from a cross. Clean sheet, good job for me, Stefan Ortega. I was pleased. Moving on to Josko. He looks comfortable at centre-back for me with Diaz. 2 clean sheets in the last 3 games, which is pretty good going. He's got pretty good defensive numbers too. Question for you guys, though. Where do you prefer him? Because I feel like there's an argument for both here. For centre-back, he looks composed, but I do think there's an argument to claim that he's a little bit wasted in centre-back, because I think his ability to come forward and score goals, get assists, just like Nico O'Reilly, I think he's brilliant at it. So I feel like that you're wasting that ability at centre-back, because you're not going to get that when he's playing at centre-back. But he certainly is building a partnership with Ruben Diaz. But I think the best thing in this scenario is it's good to know he can play in both positions. So a level of versatility that we definitely need from a defender like Josko. Pretty solid performance. Diaz, like I said, is the other half of that partnership that's growing and blossoming into something genuinely solid as a defensive partnership. I'm pleased to see it. I thought it was a very similar performance to Josko, in all honesty. He lost a few too many aerial duels, as you can see, but still, I thought he was nice and solid. And like I said, that partnership is getting better. He's getting better, and I like to see it. I hope it can continue growing. Nunes, I was really impressed with Mateus Nunes, and I think he deserves a bit of respect from certain City fans, because I know a lot of people have got a problem with him, and they're certainly in the middle of the season, they were saying he's nowhere near good enough, nowhere near, get him out, he's shit, blah, blah, blah. I just thought, like, give the guy a run of games together. Let's also remember he's not even a right back, and he looks like one. Yesterday, he played like one, he looked like one, he did not look out of his depth, and I thought he was solid. I thought he was really good at right back yesterday, and he's growing in this right back role. His positional awareness is massively improved. His decision making seems to have improved, which is so important from a right back position. In these moments where he used to go flying into tackles unnecessarily aggressively at times, he's picking his moments wisely now. I felt like he dealt with Mykolenko really well, and he came forward with purpose at times. Got himself an assist. You cannot ignore that. He got the assist for the opening goal. Very well-timed run. I thought it was a top performance from Mateus Nunes, in all honesty, and I think he deserves the 8 that I've given him. Nico O'Reilly, he's going from strength to strength, this lad. I actually said in my preview that maybe we need the defensive experience of Vardiol on that left-hand side. Shows what I know. Shows what I know, doesn't it? This guy. And when I say strength to strength, strength is the key word, really, because this physical presence that he's showing is something that this side has missed quite a bit. He's such a big guy, isn't he, for such a youngster. We've missed that physical presence in defence, in midfield, and he's coming up and down that pitch, and he uses his body incredibly well, doesn't he? And he's not just about strength, though. He's not just a brute. He's got composure. He's got technical ability that is just beyond his years. He times his runs into the box fantastically well as well, and that's that instinct, that attacking midfielder's instinct to get in the box and bag yourself a goal, and just that killer instinct and the fox in the box. So it's like, I'm wondering what else can he do now at this point. I'm thinking, like, well, I'd like to see you play as a 6, try him as an 8, possibly as a 10. Well, that's his favourite position, in fact. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got the ability to usurp players. Like, if we were to sign Florian Wirtz, he ain't going to get ahead of Florian Wirtz, or even now that Kevin De Bruyne is there, he ain't going to take that position. But to know that we've got a player here that can definitely play as a left back, he might have to rethink what his position is and maybe learn that trade. And maybe we've got a genuine left back, and we might not have to dip into the market or as aggressively for a left back, because we've got one here, ready-made, ready to go, absolutely top level. Nico O'Reilly is proven to be. And the Premier League rivals that we're going up against, they're finding out how good he is. He's brilliant. Really, really impressed. Man of the match for me. Keep it going, mate. You just got to keep your head down and keep going. Gundogan couldn't impact the game, I felt, in that first hour or so, but I did feel like towards the end of the game he started to pull a few strings. His awareness of what was going on around him grew. He started to bring other players into the game really well. Bagged himself an assist, of course, and I've been saying it for quite some time. I actually think Gundogan deserves a bit of credit in recent months, because even though he's not hitting the heights that we know he can hit, we've seen it before with Gundogan getting 9 out of 10 performances, and sometimes even 10 at times. With the previous Gundogan stint at Manchester City was sensational. The box crashing, goal getting, title winning Ilkay Gundogan. Yeah. We haven't got that guy. He's not that guy at the minute, is he? And I don't think he ever will be again, to be honest. But he's certainly racking up consistent 7 out of 10s for me. And I've been impressed by Gundogan. And he's turned it round since Christmas, I would say. And there's a reason Pep keeps picking him. Almost every game he's played for the last, 10, 15 games. He's started almost every game for me. And there's good reason for it. I think he's been very, very solid, Gundogan. Kovacic. That's pretty impactful 12 minutes from Mateo Kovacic. You can't ask for much more from a substitute than that, really, coming on. And you got to give credit to Pep Guardiola for bringing him on and showing the tactical astuteness to bring on Kovacic and bagging himself a goal, which was almost a carbon copy duplicate of the goal that he scored against Palace. That slide tackle effort that just nestled into the bottom corner. Brilliant finish. Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance from Kovacic, but we are only talking about the 12 minutes of football here. But the one thing I would say about Kovacic, he doesn't excel as a number 8, and he doesn't excel as a number 6 either. And it's like, what are you? You're sort of a hybrid, aren't you, Kovacic? And I feel like he's not quite good enough to say, yeah, you're our number 1 defensive midfielder, or you're our number one, number 8, if that makes sense. He's sort of in between. He's a bit of a jack of all trades, but not really a master of anything, you know. So I think he's definitely someone we should be looking at keeping for the next season, though. Certainly as a squad rotational player, coming on and making impact like he did yesterday. We need a player like that. He was a good performance yesterday. Nico Gonzalez. I think a lot of people gave him some stick yesterday. I thought he was pretty solid. I'm not sure what game people were watching. I thought Nico Gonzalez was very, very solid. You know, there was nothing creative from him. He didn't offer anything going forward, but he was mopping up very well, I thought. I thought he was getting into positions where he was genuinely stopping any sort of threat from Everton. And I felt like he protected the back line. I don't think there's that much to speak about from Nico Gonzalez's point of view. And that's the hallmarks of a good defensive midfielder's performance. If you're not talking about him, you know, they're not there to get you goals and entertain you. They're there to protect your defence and keep the game ticking. You know, be the nucleus of the midfield and keep that ball moving. He did exactly that yesterday. It was a very understated performance from Nico Gonzalez yesterday, where I thought he was tackling, or at least positioning himself and using his body well and blocking any sort of situations that could be a potential threat from Everton. I thought he was good yesterday, Nico Gonzalez. I really did. De Bruyne. First of all, massive respect to the Everton fans for applauding him off the pitch. A little bit of class from the Everton fans, which is not something you often say, but I do believe that they showed their respect to a great yesterday. They were in the presence of greatness yesterday in Kevin De Bruyne. But in all honesty, I actually thought his performance was not one of his best. Certainly a day to forget for Kevin De Bruyne. I thought he was very wasteful. I thought lots of sloppy touches and passes. As you can see, 20 times he gave the ball away, did Kevin De Bruyne. 20 times. So I've only popped that in there because it's such a high number. When you're breaking the 20 mark, that's too many times. And he does have a tendency to do that because that's De Bruyne's style. He tries the difficult things, but the times that he was giving it away, they weren't difficult passes. They were simple 5-yard, 10-yard passes that he was just simply giving straight to an Everton shirt, often under hit, which was infuriating to watch. Not his greatest performance. Nearly scored in the first half, though. And it could have been a very different conversation around Kevin De Bruyne because that was cleared off the line by Jake O'Brien. But yeah, for me, not his greatest game at all from Kevin De Bruyne, but still, you're hoping he can go out on a high, get us in those Champions League spots, mate, and bag us an FA Cup, and we're going home laughing and waving him off happily into the sunset. Yeah, what a player. Bernardo Silva, similar to Kevin De Bruyne, I thought. I thought he was a little wasteful yesterday, was Bernardo Silva. I thought he had good work rate as usual, which is always a hallmark for Bernardo Silva. He's definitely never in question how hard he works, but I felt like there was clearly a ploy when Bernardo Silva was on the right. There was often moments where he was fed the ball and sat there as a trap, as a lure to bring over Everton players to him. Just think of the amount of times. Think of the goal, first of all. That was Bernardo Silva slotting an overlap run. It was either an overlap run or an underlap run. Sometimes Kevin De Bruyne, sometimes Matheus Nunes. Think about the De Bruyne chance in the first half, where he smashes it with his left foot and is cleared off the line by Jake O'Brien. That came from a Matheus Nunes cross, but who gave the ball to Matheus Nunes? It was Bernardo Silva. The same from the goal. Nico O'Reilly's goal. Bernardo Silva slots in Matheus Nunes, who crosses the ball. That was a ploy throughout the game. It was Bernardo Silva, hold the ball, do not try, very Jack Grealish, but on the right wing, to be honest. Bring over those players to you, lure them over, and try and slot someone in on the overlap or on the underlap through the inside channel. But often the ball was going around Mykolenko. Too often, though, Bernardo Silva got that pass wrong for me yesterday. If he got it right on a more frequent basis, we would have been in business more often yesterday. The ploy was definitely to use Bernardo Silva in a more alluring sort of way to bring those Everton players over. That was definitely the tactic yesterday. It won us the game because that's how we opened the scoring. We got our first goal through that move. But it was clearly not coming off enough for me. And Mykolenko was able to intercept Bernardo Silva's passes all too often for me. And I did feel like that was a moment where we could have done better in that situation if Bernardo Silva had got it right. But still, you know, he was a big part in that opening goal. Savinho. Again, as he does in every game, every single game, Savinho, for me, he shows moments of promise. It's just never enough, is it? It's just always like so close yet so far from Savinho's point of view, isn't it? He's one of them. It's like, you're nearly there, mate. You are so close to being an absolute worldie of a player, but it's either end product or some silly decision that he makes, that passes when he should shoot or shoots when he should pass. It's frustrating to watch Savinho because I believe maybe next season we could unleash him and he could become an absolute superstar. Don't forget how young he is as well. You know, I do believe there's an absolute potential world-class player there. There really is. He forced Pickford into a save as well, which was probably the best moment of the game for Savinho. I would say he was actually probably the most threatening out of Marmoush, De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and Savinho. I would say out of the front four, who were all pretty floundering, I felt like they were all a bit wasteful throughout that game. I would say Savinho was probably the most threatening, but only just. Only just. I felt all four could have done better yesterday. But I felt like Doku, then he came on and he redefined what that word means, threat. In comparison to the other four, the word threat, if you're going to call Savinho the biggest threat, Doku came on and showed you what a real threat looks like for me. Because Doku, speaking of, he changed the game for me. 12 minutes, again, like Kovacic, came on with him. 12 minutes of football we're talking about here. 5 out of 5 ground duels won there. 3 dribble attempts, all 3 successful. It's just superb impact from Jeremy Doku once again. For me, he should have started, but the question I want you guys to answer, is he more impactful as a substitute when you're bringing him on against tired legs, tired opposition that have been battered and bruised and just slowly and steadily worn down, and then you bring on the fresh power and pace of Jeremy Doku? It's a nightmare for fullbacks. But does he want to be considered a super sub? Ask any player in the world. None of them want to be called super sub. It's an insult. They want to start every game. Why wouldn't you? Of course you do. He doesn't want to be that guy who comes on as a super sub, an impact sub, But he's starting to look like that. I would like to see Jeremy Doku start a game and be as impactful, because I do see moments in previous games where he has started and he's not been as impactful and he has been a little bit wasteful at times. So I'd like to see it. Arguably against Villa, it would be interesting to see if he could start the game against Villa and bring on that level of impact that he showed in the final 12 minutes against Everton, because I thought he was brilliant yesterday when he came on. Marmoush. Right, his numbers aren't terrible, really, looking at them thoroughly. These numbers are not bad at all, but he still needs to offer more. He seems like a different player away from home for me. And I was asking the chat in the watch-long, big up to everyone in the chat yesterday in the watch-long, great watch-long as usual. I was asking everybody, how many goals has he got? Because off the top of my head, I was like, how many goals has he got away from home? And they reminded me, as you always do in the chat, 1 goal away at Bournemouth. And I would argue that was a bit lucky. It should have been saved. Kappa should have saved it. But at home, he's a beast. And he needs to show that same level of quality when he's not on home turf, when he's not got the Etihad grass under his feet. He needs to show that level of ability and confidence. He looks a shrill of the player. He doesn't seem confident away from home. And even that finish echoed lack of confidence when Michael Keane comes on, catastrophic error, and he nods it back to Pickford, completely gets it wrong. Marmoush is through, one-on-one. And he was either scared of getting clattered by Jordan Pickford, or he just completely lacked confidence and didn't get enough connection with it. And it didn't show any conviction with that finish. It was a hopeful poke towards goal. And there was another moment where he chopped onto his right foot and he slipped. A bit unfortunate, that, really, so you can't really have a pop at him for slipping. But at the same time, I did feel like he could have offered so much more, a whole array of moments in the game where he let himself down, I felt like, over the course of the game. And he could have come away with a goal, probably should have come away with a goal as well. But I genuinely think we'll see him rip the Premier League apart next season. I truly believe that. I think this guy's genuinely an absolute world-class player, a goal scorer. It's whether he gets in the team often enough to do that, with Erling Haaland obviously coming back in the team for next season. Is he going to play with Haaland or instead of Haaland? And if it's instead of, we've got an Alvarez situation where he's probably going to hand in a transfer request a year down the line if Haaland is the main man and Marmoush is number 2. I hope they can play together and we can sort of see them build a partnership as 2 goal scorers like that on the pitch at the same time is exciting for Manchester City fans, and for me that equates to goals, but it doesn't always equate to goals because you need someone to feed them, and how that works out is going to be interesting. I'm sure Pep's got something up his sleeve, but yeah, need to see more from Marmoush from these away games that are coming up. Akanji came on for 2 minutes. I'm not going to give him a rating because 2 minutes of football, I'm not going to talk about that, but I thought it was a solid enough performance for City to get the 3 points in the end. There was a little spell at the 10 minutes at the beginning of the game where I thought we were pretty good, and then the final 15 minutes, again, I thought we were pretty good. That big spell in the middle where it was like, we are not at our best here, and we were very, very sloppy, I felt like. And I wouldn't say we got away with it, because I don't think, you can call a good save from Ortega getting away with it. No, he's doing his job, mate. It was a really good save. Other than that, I felt like Everton were our equals and it felt like it could go either way at that moment. Eventually, City took control of the game with 2 vital substitutions from Pep Guardiola to get the 3 Premier League points. We sit in 4th, massive win for Manchester City. Do you think we're going to do it? Do you think we're going to get in the Champions League? Do you think we're going to get an FA Cup? Blues, let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silver.